Life in Trenches, BerenStain.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of Life in Trenches. I had my mind blown a little bit this last couple weeks, and I think maybe it was somewhat in response to finishing Stranger Things on Netflix and the idea of alternate universes being something that was kind of in my stream of conscious. But I recently stumbled across a post on the internet that was talking about a book series that I recall from my my elementary school age years in the 80s, the BerenStain Bears. And I read a lot of the books. If you want to know any background on me, you'll know that there's one thing that I'm really particular about, and that is spelling. And I assume that I got that way because of having read a lot of books when I was a kid. But I read every one of those books. We get this order sheet for the book club or whatever in school, and you'd order however many books. And the ones that I would always order in a certain age bracket was the BerenStain Bears. So I stumbled across a theory, a posting that caught my eye that said something about the BerenStain Bears problem, and the spelling of the BerenStain Bears. It was BerenSt, and then there was a hash mark in place of that next letter, and then it finished with IN Bears. So obviously there was some kind of an issue with the spelling of it, which made me think I probably should check this out. So I go and check it out. And there's a bunch of articles that are written that talk about people's remembrance of this series, and that the spelling, a lot of people said it was spelled BerenStein, and that's how I recall it being spelled. But if you go and find the books series or the VHS tapes or whatever you had back when you were a kid, you'll find that it was spelled BerenStain. And as somebody who was a stickler on spelling, I was like, no, I would have bet my life on it. Like, no, there's no way. It was not spelled with an AIN. It was spelled with an EIN. I pronounced it that way. I remember the script that it was written in on the books being with an EIN. And so I started looking into this more, and there's apparently a whole slew of people who remember it as I do. And of course, then with this either false remembrance or I don't know what else it would be, but people have said that there's this theory that we're now living in that we're in an alternate universe, that this is the clue, the major key.
The major key. All right. Let me get this straight. BerenStain Bears, whether you knew them or not, it's a character. It's a group of books and TV series or something like that.
Yeah.
I read some of the books. I remember this. And they're saying that it used to be BerenStain and now it's BerenStain.
Yes.
So we've somehow jumped tracks from this reality or a past reality to now the BerenStain reality.
Right.
Alternate universe, alternate worlds, the wood between the worlds. So there's there's all these different theories. Like we could have like part of our world is different worlds. Not all of our world has changed. Maybe.
Yeah.
Is that maybe a whole different theory?
I mean,
maybe I just made up. But here's another thing though. BerenStain or BerenStein. I actually always remembered it as Bern, just BERN, which is not correct. It's BERERN. And then Stain or Steen.
Yes. So
Stein. What about Stein?
Maybe it was one of those things that as a kid, no one really knew as a kid how to pronounce that, so you came up with your own way of pronouncing it. I don't know.
I think it's honestly probably just the fact that we don't remember things very good.
Yeah.
We think we know, like, 6 of one, half dozen of the other. I'm constantly screwing that up when I'm not really thinking about it, and you think of that phrase, oh, 6 of us, half dozen the other. Like, you kind of just like go over it. I think it's maybe one of those things.
Yeah.
Just our mind has a way of filling in gaps. So when you see something, if you miss part of it, your mind can just fill that in.
Yeah.
And I think your mind can do that with memories. Your mind can do that with a lot of things. And so they teach you when you're learning how to speed read to take everything in as a whole, like a sentence or groups of words together, rather than reading each individual word, because your mind works that way. It can handle that because for the most part you're going to be correct.
Yeah.
But now and then when it's something subjective like BerenStain or stain, your mind doesn't necessarily know what's right. It's just going to go with what's more common, and what's more common is steen.
Yes.
So we're nowhere.
We're nowhere.
We may be in an alternate universe,
and that's our only clue so
and
far.
It may be as simple as just false memories from our childhood and just not really having paid attention back then, and the fact that we don't have the digital sort of way of capturing things like we do now.
Right.
Where, I mean, you take a picture and it's going to be that picture forever.
Unless you're in Back to the Future.
Unless you're in Back to the Future. All right, so I think we solved this thing. Let us know in the comments what you think. Do you remember it as BerenStain or BerenStain? And what about this whole Bern or Beren? Because I know I'm doing that a little wrong as well.
There you go. Let us know.
On to the next. I think we solved that caper.